So welcome tonight, everyone, to Citizens Climate University. It's a weekly webinar program of Citizens Climate Lobbies for supporters like you and I to find in-depth information about effective climate advocacy. And tonight, what more appropriate topic than learning about Congressional Education Day's final logistics and Q&A. To help us achieve this goal, we have two wonderful co-presenters joining us tonight. We'll have Sarah Wanis, the membership coordinator for CCL, who connects CCL's new members and assists veteran members with projects and otherwise helps to onboard and support the tens of thousands of new supporters who join CCL join us. And with her is the wonderful Taylor Krause. Taylor started at CCL as an intern to Mark Reynolds, our executive director, and is now freshly arrived in the DC team and is going to be happy to give you some updates from the Washington perspective. We'll have a chance to jump right in with the agenda of focusing first on pre-conference materials and then going over your actual schedule details that you got in the emails today. We'll have a chance to talk about what to expect as you arrive to the conference, as well as the agenda and logistics of the actual program, as well as the details behind submitting your own meeting minutes and the importance behind that. And we'll close with some final housekeeping slides and Wi-Fi information and all that fun stuff about what to expect when you get on the Hill on Tuesday. But without further ado, I will pass it over to you, Taylor and Sarah, and thank you all for being on the line tonight. Sit back and relax.
Great, thanks everyone. We're excited to have you here tonight. But before we get started on the logistics of the conference itself, it's come to our attention for those of you that are going to be flying into the Reagan National Airport, that's DCA. And if you were planning on taking the metro to get to your hotel or other accommodations, you're going to need to make alternate plans because over the holiday weekend, the metro trains aren't going to be servicing the Reagan National Airport due to some construction. It should be back up in service by Tuesday for you to get back to the airport. But when you're arriving to the airport, there should be a shuttle that will take you to the next stop, the Pentagon stop, but you can also rely on ride-sharing services. On to conference logistics. So we'll start by talking about the schedules that you'll receive in your inboxes, maybe today, tomorrow at the latest. And the title to that email is going to be, Your Personal CCL Lobby Schedule is Attached. In order to plan and prepare ahead of this year's conference, your personal lobby schedule, along with the bios for each member of Congress that you are scheduled to meet with, will be attached on that email. So you should print all of those bios and schedule and bring them with you to the conference. And please do remember to bring those with you because we won't have printed copies at the hotel. Make sure to also mark that email that you received with your lobby schedules as important, put a star on it, something so that you can find it in your email easily once you're there if you need to access it that way. If you can try checking your spam folder if you haven't received it, and if it's not in your inbox by the end of the day on Friday, so tomorrow, you will want to go ahead and check with Amy and our lobby team about it, but don't panic until the end of the day tomorrow. You can also take photos of that schedule with your phone. That way, if you lose it while you're on the Hill, you'll have an electronic copy. It's a good best practice. And if you are a meeting lead, here's one important thing you should do when you first receive your schedule. Go to the Member of Congress's website and verify the building and room number. If there has been a change, be sure to let the other members of your team know the new location. Okay, so now Taylor's going to go ahead and discuss the all-important lobby schedule with you all.
Thank you, Sarah. So first about your schedule, please love your schedule. Imagine trying to arrange over 400 meetings at various times throughout the day and perfectly matching 600 attendees with everyone's top choice. It's pretty impossible. It will not be perfect, but it will reflect that constituents and liaisons being placed in the meetings as priority. A lot of congressional members would like to speak with their constituents in general. So everyone is averaging around 2 to 3 meetings. Some people I've heard get more. And you should also expect about 5 to 6 different CCLers in each meeting. So please welcome any non-constituents in your district or state meetings as well. And for those of you who are placed outside of your state or district, please honor the meeting leader's facilitation of the meeting. They usually have a very thought out meeting plan. So the meeting plans are based on the experience and knowledge of the local CCL chapter. And why do we have some mixed meetings and include 4 to 6 volunteers? So one Senate office recently asked to only have 2 constituents attend. And that was certainly a reasonable request, but here's why we've asked to have more people attend. So we have around 600 citizens coming to DC next week and to learn and in part to lobby. Often there are too few constituents for one district and too many from another district. Sometimes CCLers who are not constituents may have more knowledge or special expertise they can bring to their meeting. And we like everyone to think of us acting as a team. So some of our citizen lobbyists would love other experienced CCLers around them because DC can be a little bit intimidating. I know for me, in my first lobby meeting, it was really helpful to know that I was a part of a team with seasoned veterans. So this may sound selfish, but we want to have all the folks coming to the conference, so all 600 people lobbying, to get into several meetings so they can get that democracy bug. This is solely needed now. This is how we grow the grassroots organization and get people to feel that they can be engaged in our solutions. So if I can show you 2 photos that demonstrate this. The first one is from 2010, where we had 27 volunteers and 52 congressional meetings. And everyone who attended had meetings where there were no constituents at all. So the next picture is our picture from 2018. Wow, it's crazy. By offering volunteers several lobby meetings, they caught the democracy bug with over 500 lobby meetings. This coming week, we will still have 2/3 of this as many people coming back to DC for lobbying. Now I'll pass it back to Sarah to review your schedules.
We'll show you a lobby day schedule sample here. And when reviewing your schedules, please notice a couple things. The meeting ID, which is there in black, member of Congress's name, state and district, time, location, and the staff in the meeting, the liaison, and the appointment setter. Note the CCL attendees, who is the meeting lead, and their contact information, and the times of their other meetings, which can be really helpful if any meeting times get changed. A few meetings don't quite get set in time, because some of the offices have to wait for congressional committee schedules to come out. So if the office can set the meeting 2 weeks ahead, we may be able to squeeze it into our master schedule. But if the meeting hasn't been scheduled yet, by the time that we create our master schedule, we'll create a to be determined meeting so that we can create the CCL volunteer team. And this will show up as a TBD meeting, which Brett has highlighted on the screen there right now. And it's probably going to show up as scheduled for 7 a.m., but know that that would change. The liaison or the appointment setter will contact the meeting team and leader and the entire meeting team with any news of a final meeting or meeting change. Additionally, we will be doing some delivery-only meetings, so make sure that the June analysis as well as the constituent letters are hand-delivered to each office, and with the hope of still being able to discuss a few of the key findings with whomever we might be greeted with at these offices. So a note on schedule changes. Late additions or changes may have a domino effect on your schedule. Sometimes a meeting gets changed by the congressional office. So please do not make changes to your schedule unless absolutely necessary. If there's a clear data entry error or if a volunteer is ill, etc. Your team expects you to be in the meetings that you're listed on your schedule. The CCL meeting leader is the person responsible for meeting changes. So if the congressional office needs to change the meeting time, the CCL meeting leader is the person who can help make that change. The CCL meeting leader is responsible for confirming the attendees for that meeting as well if the meeting time does change. So do know that if you are a meeting lead. Always contact your meeting leaders before requesting changes. So if you do need to make a change for one of those extenuating circumstances, if you think that you'll need to change your schedule, first ask the meeting leads about this. Both leads will need to be consulted. The leaders of the meeting that you want to bow out of and the one that you are joining. Without communications, you might leave your team high and dry, so please do communicate with them openly. And with that, Taylor is going to explain the whiteboards that we'll have at the conference for helping out with some of these meeting changes.
So whiteboards. So we use these as a resource, and it's kind of like speed dating for meeting changes. The whiteboards will be located in the blue pre-function room in the conference, and they will be used for meeting updates, changes, and rescheduled meetings. One whiteboard area is for lists of changed meetings where attendees are needed, and the second whiteboard area is where you can list yourself as available if you wanted to pick up meetings. The whiteboards will be accessible until Monday at 5 p.m. So if you need to take a note of it, again, I recommend taking a picture of it on your phone. And these whiteboards sometimes are subject to change around in terms of the need for space. So please look for Amy Bennett. They'll be by her. She is our master lobby meeting scheduler. And so next, Sarah is going to say a few words about biographies.
Yes, so here is an example of the top half of the page of Representative Adriano Espaillat's bio. So what's on the bios? First, there's biographical data. So when they were elected, their next election, percent of the vote in the last election, schools attended, background, career, interest, religion, what we can appreciate him or her for, just a lot of biographical data. Then there's the congressional record, which is a voting record on relevant bills and statements and committee assignments. These things, along with concerns expressed by constituents, are factors in how the member of Congress arrives at his or her decision.
Great. So next up are the meeting plans that we previously talked about. So for Congressional Education Day in November, liaisons are not asked to submit meeting plans as they usually are for every June conference that we usually have. And in November, the meeting plan is relatively straightforward. We are just checking in to share the updates of our June analysis with the office and asking them what related areas to climate change and carbon pricing they're most interested in discussing. Nevertheless, there is a chance that the local CCL group may still have submitted a meeting plan. If there is a plan for your meeting, it will cover some suggested topic areas, goals for the meeting, the supporting ask, some questions you could get to ask the member of Congress or staff to open up to, and some challenges that you might face during the meeting. Again, these chapters are the ones that work very one-on-one with that office, so we recommend that you please abide by their meeting plans. Regardless if you're a meeting lead, feel free to email the appointment setter or liaison to get their input on whether there are any specific questions or goals for the meeting, as well as if they have any recommendations for a specific appreciation for the member or the senator, and if they also plan on having any constituent call in from district if there isn't one able to be at the meeting themselves. And now we're going to go over the conference schedule and lineup. So you can go look at the full schedule lineup ahead of time online. To get to this page, the easiest way that we recommend people can find this is by just Googling Citizens Climate Lobby Congressional Education Day, and it should be the first item that pops up.
Great. So the schedule will be in your program that you'll pick up when you register for the conference. But another way to keep up with your schedule is using the conference app on your smartphone. So to get the app on your smartphone, you would go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and search for Grenadine Event Guide. We do it through a third-party service. So it's Grenadine Event Guide, and install that app. And when it opens, it asks for the conference code, which is 2018 CED. Again, 2018 CED with no spaces, all capitals. And this is available before arriving to DC. So next I'll also talk about what to do when you arrive at the Omni Shoreham. So let me show you where we'll be located at the Omni. On the next slide, there's a map of the lobby level of the Omni Shoreham, and at the bottom in the middle is the main entrance. And that's where you'd enter or exit the hotel during breaks for lunch and dinner. But when you arrive for the conference, enter and turn towards the left and east elevators. And continue, and you'll see our signs. We'll have a bunch of little A-frame signs out that point you towards our event, and they'll point you in the right direction. Regular registration is going to begin on Monday, November 12th at 8 a.m. and it'll run until 2:30 p.m. So be sure to check in before then. Amy and her team will keep the whiteboard stationed near the registration area and will help with any scheduling questions. We welcome on-site registration on Monday for latecomers, and we'll accept credit card or check payments only, so no cash. And for latecomers, we do want to reiterate that we will be able to accommodate you for the educational section on Monday, but we won't be able to provide a lobby schedule at that time. And the main room that we'll be located in for most of our program is the blue room, and most of this registration part and where Amy will be located is in the blue pre-function room, which is just to the left. If you have not been to a climate advocate training workshop before, then you'll need to attend the climate advocate training at the conference. And this is the most important training that we do at CCL. And the climate advocate training will be led by our CCL Director of Field Development, Ellie Sparks, and Brett, who's on tonight's call, on Monday, November 12th at 9:30 a.m. So this workshop will educate you on the structure and methodology and skills to become effective communicators and advocates for national policies to address climate change. If you have completed the online training or version of the climate advocate training, then you can attend just the last 45 minutes of the session, which will happen from 11:15 to 12. So to participate in the live lobby role-playing exercise. So again, if you've done the training online, please do still come to those last 45 minutes from 11:15 to 12, so you can do the live training. And then the climate advocate training workshop will be in the Empire Room, which is on the other side of the conference, the west side, on Monday morning. If you don't need to attend the climate advocate training, you have the option of attending the communications for climate advocates at that time, which will be for those of you who are already comfortable with the basic climate advocate training. That's going to be led by Adeline DeYoung and Leslie Beatty in the blue room. Lunch on Monday will be on your own from 12 to 1:30, so be sure to check back in on time for the official kickoff of the program beginning in the blue room at 1:30. We'll have trainings from 1:30 until 4 when our communications director, Steve Volk, will speak with national political journalists about Congress climate action and what to expect in 2019. Dinner is then on your own from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Starting at 7 p.m., we'll have our evening lobby training session back in the blue room, which is recommended for everyone. Tuesday, you'll be on the Hill, and we'll get to the plans for it a little bit more in a bit. But when you're done with your lobby day experience, you'll still want to be around Tuesday evening because you don't want to miss the reception that we have on Tuesday. It's a really great experience. It will be in the Diplomat Room on the west side of the hotel from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And we'll have hors d'oeuvres and drinks and fun celebrations. So feel free to attend in your lobby day best. Lastly, if you're not coming to DC, we'll be streaming some of our sessions on November 12th, including the 4 p.m. plenary, Climate Change in the 116th Congress, how the midterm elections will impact us moving forward. And in this session, we'll have conversations with journalists from The Hill, Roll Call, Washington Examiner, Time Magazine, and the Washington Post. So keep an eye out on Facebook for live streams of those sessions, including from our DC staff and a communication training from our VP of programs. All right, And next, Taylor is going to tell you about the constituent letter exchange.
Great. So another important component of Congressional Education Day will be the constituent letter exchange. Sometimes when you're doing outreach, you collect letters from out-of-town folks. You can bring the letters to Congressional Education Day in November or give them to any volunteer who's attending. Lobby teams will hand deliver your letters to the appropriate members of Congress. The drop-off and pickup location from constituent letters, it'll be in the Capitol Room on Sunday during registration, and then Monday in the Blue Function Room on Monday. And here's a step-by-step process of how to do the constituent letter exchange. So number 1, bring your constituent letters to DC. 2, any letters that you won't deliver yourself, you can drop off at the letter exchange table when you register for the conference. 3, be sure to bring a copy for each of your senators. 4, be sure to write the state district on the top of each letter using the format CA 49 or NVSR, and alphabetize the letters by state. And if you're not sure what that means, so California, the 49th district, or Nevada, senior representative for different senators. 5, be sure to file a field report for the total numbers of letters and consider adding their emails to the CCL mailing list. 6, if you're a meeting lead, pick up your folder of letters after 3 p.m. on Monday and before you go to dinner at the constituent letter pickup table. All meeting leads must pick up their letters to bring to their meetings on Tuesday. If there is no one in your vicinity attending Congressional Education Day, we really do encourage you to put your letters in envelopes and mail them directly to the appropriate congressional offices in DC. Please do not forget to send the copies to senators too. If you have 25 or more letters for a single congressional office at other times of the year, you might want to consider using the CCL Envoy program. You can find more information on community about delivering letters under the Take Action, Then Delivering Letters to Congress. And next, I'll pass it back to Sarah about what you'll receive, materials you'll receive at the conference.
All right, so at the conference, inside the folder that you'll receive at registration, you'll find conference materials, including the conference program, briefing invites for the House and Senate, the June 17 Lobby Day analysis sheet, legislation of interest, bills for consideration, which are secondary asks, meeting minute forms, a fundraising booklet, a role play activity sheet. But do note that we're only going to have enough folders to give one per person, so please don't lose your folder. We will also have a handout of the PDFs available on, or a PDF version of the handouts available on Community. So do go ahead and print those out. If you were to lose it, you can use the Business Center at the hotel to print them out again. And the conference program booklet will also have the schedule of all of the conference events, maps needed, and Wi-Fi passwords. All right, back to Taylor.
So speaking of finding a time to meet with your groups ahead of Tuesday's meetings, around the hotel, there are casual and fast food restaurants in the area surrounding the Omni. So the Omni also hosts an in-house restaurant called Robert's Restaurant and a bar, which also serves food. It's the Marquee Bar and Lounge. But we do recommend that you explore different options around the area. And Sarah's going to go over a review of what to do on Lobby Day. And just so you know, instructions about about getting to Capitol Hill will also be presented at the conference. So now let's talk about getting over to Capitol Hill. It's about a 4 to 10 minute walk from the hotel to the metro station. When you exit the hotel, walk up 24th Street Northwest to get to the Woodley Park Station, where you will take the red line towards Glenmont. Exit the red, which is about 6 stops to the Capitol. So exit the red line at Union Station and walk to the park to Capitol Hill. And to get back to the hotel, you'll be doing the same exact thing, but in reverse, and you'll be going towards Shady Grove.
Yeah, so for taking the Metro, one really important note is you need to buy a Metro card. It doesn't take cash, it takes a Metro card, which is a little yellow. It looks like a credit card, but it's paper. And please do not wait until Tuesday morning when we're all headed to the Hill to buy your Metro card. Please do find time before then to make it to the Metro station. You'll feel more confident having found it and also already having that Metro card. All right, and you can purchase those Metro cards at a kiosk at the station. So once you get to the Hill, walking between buildings, especially the Senate and the House side, can take a considerable amount of time. So please plan on scheduling 30 minutes to get from one side of the Hill to the other side of the Hill, including the security check going into the building. Another note, there's construction going on in the Cannon building, which can make getting around a little bit tricky. So plan on your meetings in Cannon taking a little bit longer to get to than usual. We're also frequently asked what's allowed through security. So here's a not so quick list of items that the Russell Security Building provides us that are prohibited. So you can't bring any of these things into the building.
Next, we're going to go over the different Wi-Fi networks that are available on Capitol Hill. I have been told that these aren't really reliable, so I wouldn't rely on them as a resource, but just in case, these will also be included in your folder that you're given, but feel free to write these down too. For the Senate Wi-Fi, the network is Senate Guest, and then the password is Public Law. For the House Wi-Fi, the network name is House Public, and the password is House Public. And for conference attendees at the hotel itself, the network name is CCL DC 2018, and then the password is CCL DC 2018, so the same exact. Okay, don't worry, we're almost finished. I'm just going to talk through what you're going to do with your meeting minutes or notes from your lobby meetings. So the meeting minute taker is a really critical role. They document the concerns and questions that the members of Congress have, and it documents the levels of support and allows a detailed analysis of where Congress stands and how support is growing. This is what the meeting minute form that is given to you in your conference materials looks like. And so the form also has tips on the backside that I recommend checking out. CCL meeting leads should decide and confirm who can commit to this important role. They should ask themselves, can the minute taker do the following? Write legible notes on a pad with a firm surface. Focus on what the congressional member or the congressional staffer says, and not so much on what we say. Tip, once you've entered the full names, use initials. So for example, if you were talking to Taylor Krause, say my name and then put TK, or if you were talking to Paul Ryan, then you can put PR. So review the notes right after the meeting in the hallway with your team. Do not leave the group until this is done, just to fill in the blanks and confirm accuracy of the notes. As this is very important, and over time, sometimes you can forget things. Get a consensus from the group on the level of support for fee and dividend and the climate position of the congressional staffer or of the member themselves. Again, the meeting minutes are really, really important, so we ask that you pay particular attention to them. And next, I'm going to pass it back to Sarah.
Yeah, and we're going to talk really quickly a little bit more about that last position statement. During the debrief, you're going to want to make sure to capture an accurate window as to the possibility into the member's position, both on our policy, carbon fee and dividend, and as well as their individual beliefs on climate change. To track this over time, CCL has developed a 4-letter scale from A to D, with grades further down as they go down the alphabet, actually indicating more favorable positions. So it's better to get a D than an A here at CCL. In order to make sure that to make your best, most accurate estimate, we hope that during the meeting you're able to ask questions that get clarity on both of these positions during your primary ask of carbon fee and dividend throughout the overall conversation regarding their position on climate. So for carbon fee and dividend position, A would be they would not vote for carbon fee and dividend if it was introduced. B would be they may or may not vote for it, can't really be sure. C would be that they would vote for it, and D would be that they would be happy to introduce and co-sponsor it. And unknown would be that you did not ask or it was not clear. Climate position, A would be that they deny that the climate is changing. B would be that they recognize that the climate is changing, but they don't see that humans contribute to that. C would be that the climate is changing and humans do contribute. And D would be even further, that the climate is changing, humans contribute, and Congress needs to do something about it. And unknown, again, would be that you didn't ask or it wasn't clear. All right, back to Taylor.
Yeah, and back to the notes. So we recommend that you write the notes down rather than taking your laptop into a meeting. If you could imagine being a staffer in a congressional meeting and you have someone just vigorously typing everything that you say, it might be a little off-putting. So if you do really, really want to do that, we ask that you ask the congressional staffer or the member themselves if it's okay if you take notes that way. But we no longer take written notes, but we do provide you the meeting minutes form so that you can take the notes and then type them up later. So I suggest that you type the notes in Word first rather than typing them all out in your browser, because sometimes if your internet goes down, then you can lose all the work that you just made. So I suggest you type them out in Word after transcribing them and then cutting and pasting them into our online minutes submission, which is at www.citizensclimatelobby.org/minutes, which will also be on your minutes sheet. So after you submit those, please wait for this screen that says you have successfully submitted the minutes, and include all meeting participants in the text box online, the staffers' names and titles, and the other CCLer names or who the constituents themselves are. So meeting leads, please make a separate record of the minute taker's name. You're in charge of them, and if we can't find the minutes, we are going to have to come to you, unfortunately, to figure out who the minute taker is. So after your lobby day experience, it will be around, if you're still around on Tuesday evening, we really don't want you to miss the reception. It's a really great time and a great way to celebrate all your hard work. So again, this will be in the Diplomat Room, which is on the west side of the hotel from 7 to 11 p.m. Dinner is on your own beforehand if you would like a full-fledged dinner, but there will be hors d'oeuvres and drinks for purchase and some fun celebrations, some dancing, and some testimonies from everybody that had their first day on the Hill. So we encourage those first-time attendees to share their experiences, and you are welcome to dress in your lobby day best attire.
At this point, if you do have any additional questions, I've put Taylor, Sarah, and my contact information as well in the chat, and we're happy to field anything that you might be curious about. Still heading into a big Congressional Education Day, especially if this is your first time. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable, and we hope that tonight is at least getting you a little bit closer to that. And we'd love to just close with a really powerful quote that Mark actually just wrote in an op-ed that The Hill published the day after the midterms. And the whole piece really centers around the importance of just keeping in mind that even though we have a new Congress, in the end, the real solution to climate change is democracy. And with more and more of us telling our members of Congress the delay is not an option, a viable solution to climate crisis is within reach. So I just really want to underscore that all of you making the time and the sacrifice that you are making to join the Congressional Education Day are absolutely the front line in making that possible. And we really are appreciative of all that you're contributing because of that.
Thank you.
Bye.
Sarah, Taylor, and Brad.
Good to see everyone.